Hello, whistleblowers everywhere. Today we are going to do a deep dive into cuts and taps. I've got a few exercises to show you, but first, before we go into the exercises, I'm going to explain a little bit how I do cuts and taps. And bear in mind, there's more than one way to do cuts. When you're using a note above to cut with. So let's start off with having a look at some of the cuts and some of the techniques that I use. I'll show you a few little different ones. Hello, whistleblowers everywhere. Today I'm going to do a in-depth tutorial on how I do cuts and taps. Now, cuts and taps are used a lot in traditional music, and they go to form eventually what's known as a long roll or a short roll, a combination of cuts and taps basically. But we're just going to look at how I do cuts and taps. I'm going to show you a couple of little different variants that other people may use, and bear in mind there is always more than one way of doing these things, but the important thing is, as always, to get the rhythm and to get the correct sort of feel of what the cut is doing and what the tap is doing. So I'm going to start off first of all, and today I'm going to be using this lovely Chai Kong whistle. Yeah, it's one of my favourite metal whistles and it plays beautifully. So using the Chai Kong whistle, I'm going to just demonstrate how I do cuts. So for the bottom hand, I use this finger for the D, for the E, for the F sharp, and for the G. For the A, I use this finger, and for the B, I use C sharp to cut. Now, you can use other fingers. I think probably most people use that bottom hand cut with this finger, but you can, with these upper ones, use the top finger, and of course the top finger. So for the D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And so for this top hand, you can use this finger as well. Now, a lot of people will use this top finger, which is absolutely fine to do. So for the G, you can use the top finger, this middle finger, or all of them work. So it's not so much about which finger you use, it's about how quick you can move that finger up and down. So you don't want to hear the note like this. You want to hear the rhythm. So it's going to go. And it's literally just like a little twitch of your finger. Yeah? So I'm just going to go up the scale. I'm going to play in both registers. I'm just going to go up the scale by using some cuts to separate the notes. I'm going to go 2 Ds, 2 Es, 2 Fs and so forth. So here we go. So we don't cut the C sharp. You can. Suppose you can do that, but that's more of a tap than a cut. So let's start with the D now in the second register. So I'm going to use the same fingering. And then we can come down. So we hear the rhythm of the cut, but we don't want to hear the note. And this is a matter of practice, but keeping your fingers as soft and relaxed as possible and not lifting them too high. Because if you look at how I'm cutting, yeah, my fingers are literally just twitching off and on. And that's what you want to try and get. You want to try and get that up and down, but don't lift your fingers up too high, because the higher it's going, the longer it's going to take to come back down. So the idea is small, little micro movements. So just going up and down the scale is a great exercise. So playing each note twice, tongue, first note, cut, yeah? And again, if you want to use that top finger, and I suggest you get good at cutting with both fingers, because eventually if you come to do a double cut roll, then you're going to need to be able to cut with both fingers. So it's good practice to be able to cut with the top finger and the finger next door as well. So that's a little exercise, just running up and down the scale using cuts. Let's have a look at another exercise, which is just going, again, it's part using the scale, but we're going up and then down. So we're doing this: D, E, cut, E, D, cut, D, E, cut, E, D, cut. Then we go E, F, cut, F, E, cut. So this is how it sounds. And then we come back down, but we reverse it. So we're using that pattern to go up, and then we reverse the pattern to come back down. It's good practice. Again, you don't need to do it at any particular speed. Yeah, I mean, eventually we can go a bit quicker. But always make sure that your technique is sound and that your cuts are nice and crisp. So when we cut, we want to cut on the beat, not before or not after, but actually on the notice. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, cut. So you need to time your cut so that it's happening on the beat. If it's late, yeah, doesn't work. And if it's early, yeah, keep it rhythmic on the beat. And again, you can do this with a click, and it's always good practice. So again, if I set my click to 60, 1, 2, 3. Now you can start off slowly at that speed. All the way up to the top, and then when you come to reverse it, 1, 2, 3. So with the C sharp, yeah, we're just going to separate that with a gentle tongue. But for all the other notes, we're going to use cuts for separating. So we go note, note, cut, D, E, cut. So we're playing 2 of the same note each time. D to E, cut, E to D, and then cut the D. So that's quite a useful exercise as well. And like the cutting exercise, we can use the same exercise for taps. So what a tap is, instead of cut from above, we tap from a note below. So obviously we can't tap a D because there is no note below the D. But if I look at the E, I'm going to tap with the note underneath the D. So I'm going to go. Now taps are difficult at first because what tends to happen is you tend to spend too long on the note. So we do this. What we want is that bounce of your finger, so you literally are tapping the whistle. And there's a little exercise you can do with tapping, which can just go note, tap, tap, tap. So obviously we can't tap the D, so we'll go up to the next E. And again, if you want to do this with a metronome, we can do it at 60. Note, cut, tap, tap. Note, tap, tap, tap. And then reverse it, coming down. So that's a really good exercise to do to make sure that your taps are in time. And it always helps to do it with a click, just to make sure that your taps are on the beat. So regarding taps, as long as you're using a note underneath, and some of you eagle-eyed watchers may have noticed that I was sometimes tapping the B with these two fingers, and some of you may find that easy to do. It doesn't make any difference to the sound. One finger, two fingers. Now the thing with cuts and taps, because they're rhythmic, not melodic ornamentation, it doesn't really matter about which finger you're using, as long as the cut is cutting with a higher note and the tap is cutting with a lower note. And some people with the G will use these two fingers. One finger. Does give a slightly different sound with two fingers. Very, very difficult to perceive between the different sounds, but it is slightly different with two. So again, if you're struggling using the one finger with the G tap, you can try using two. Works perfectly fine. And again with the B, if you're struggling just cutting with the tapping, sorry, with that one finger, you can use two. One finger, two fingers. So as I said, try experimenting, see what you find to be the easiest way for you to do it. And again, always go with the what you find easy to do, because in the long run, it's all about developing that necessary sort of movements, those micro movements, to make sure that our ornamentation is crisp and clean, and the rhythm within that, yeah? So the cut is crisp and the tap is clean, yeah? Always important. So, like the cut exercise we did, we can do the same thing with the taps, but obviously we can't tap the low D, so we're going to do this. We'll just cut that to get the separation, yeah? So, E, F, G, A, and again, when you come down, you can reverse it. Again, if you want to use a metronome, I would start off at 60, which is a nice steady pace, yeah? 1, 2. and so on all the way up. And the reason for doing it at that speed is to ensure that your cuts and your taps are clean. Yeah, don't worry about speed for now. In fact, speed will only get in your way. Do it as slowly as you need to, and 60 I find is a good speed to start off with, in terms of making sure that your cuts and taps are clean and on the beat. And it does help sometimes to use a metronome with these exercises. Okay, so that's our introduction to cuts and taps. I'm going to give you now a couple of little exercises which I use with my students just as a little warm-up, preparatory warm-up really for practicing cuts and taps. So here's the first exercise, number 1. So we're just, again, this is a scalic passage exercise. So we're going to go D, cut, E, tap, F, cut, E, tap. Now starting on E. F. G. A. And all the way back up to the top. So we can go back up to the E, sorry, the D. E. And again, like the others, we can reverse it. So we can go. And so again, like the others, you may want to use a metronome for that. Again, it does help to make sure that we've got the cut and the tap on the right beat. So that's the first exercise. Let's have a look at another one now. So here's a little cut tap exercise. Now we're going to start on the E this time. Yeah. So we're going to go cut, tap, cut, tap. So E to F. F to G. So we're going cut, tap, cut, tap. So let's go from the beginning. Then we go into the upper register. Then we can reverse it. And then down. So with this exercise, again, rhythm is everything, the cut and the tap. So what we can do if we're doing it at 60, cut, tap, cut, tap. All the way up, and then when we reverse it, and then all the way back down to the bottom. So that's another little exercise you can do to work on your cuts and taps. And we can mix them up, so we do all cuts, all taps, then we can mix up with the cut and the tap. So have a go, just to recap, to make sure that your cuts and taps are nice and crisp and clean. So even if you just start off, if you're new to doing cuts and taps, just practice them on their own. So you could do a G cut, and again, remember what we said about those small little micro movements, yeah? Don't lift your fingers up too high because you won't get the speed. And then tap. And with the tap, again, you want to really try and get that bounce. Yeah, it's a percussive bounce. We don't want to place the finger on. You won't get the speed, so you have to just literally tap the whistle. You're tapping with that finger, you're bouncing it. You can also practice the double tap. So But again, if you're finding it a struggle, then just practice the single. So, a little bit on cuts and taps, and hopefully you found it useful. Have a go at some of these exercises, and again, most importantly, take your time. No rush with any of these. We have to get the right technique, we have to get the right feel, and approach it slowly, and use a click if you need to. I'd use a click anyway, just to make sure that your taps and cuts are precise. And that's the thing with ornamentation, it always needs to be rhythmic and precise, and that's really important. That's it, folks. Hopefully you found this useful. If you have, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel, give it a like, share it out amongst all those people who you think would benefit, who you think would find it useful. And any comments, always good to hear from you. Let me know how you're getting on. Let me know your successes, or even let me know what you're struggling with. And I'm sure I can find a tutorial to help you out with whatever you're struggling with at the moment. So yeah, great to hear from you all. All right, folks, that's it for now. I shall see you all again soon. Bye bye for now.